5 real stories that will chill you to the bone. Watch this video on our channel if you dare.
Story 5. Just yesterday evening, a friend hurried me out the door to see the first band at a live music event at a nearby pub. After a couple of beers, I noticed my phone was missing from my pocket. I looked at the table where we were sitting, by the counter, in the restrooms, and after no success, I used my friend's phone to call my own. After 2 rings, someone picked up, let out a quiet, hoarse chuckle, and then disconnected. They wouldn't answer again. I eventually wrote it off as a dead end and went home. I found my phone resting on my bedside table, exactly where I'd left it. Story 4. Back in my childhood, I was always the final kid to be collected by the school bus to go to school. One morning, I was waiting for the bus all by myself, and a bus with no other children inside pulled up. The driver smiled and invited me to get on. I just had a strange feeling. I asked, "Where are the other kids?" He replied, "We are going to get them now. Just hop on." He became more and more insistent, but didn't do anything aggressive. I just kept refusing, and he shrugged and drove away. The correct bus arrived a few minutes later. I went to school, and my parents had no idea until I mentioned it that evening. Looking back, they were quite alarmed. I recall them rushing to make a few phone calls. Story 3. Some years ago, I rented a flat from an acquaintance of mine. He had just purchased it and had it fully redone. He listed it for sale but couldn't find a buyer, so I offered to rent it in the meantime. After getting settled, I realized there was something off about the woman next door. She was about 45 but appeared much older. She would stay up all night listening to religious broadcasts and speaking loudly to someone. It reached a point where I couldn't rest, so I went to her place and asked her to lower the volume. She opened the door, and I got a brief glimpse inside. Her walls were covered in crosses painted in various colors, and words like Jesus and angels were scrawled everywhere. The place was damp, with yellow-stained 50-year-old carpets, dog feces, and cockroaches everywhere. No dog, though. I asked her to please be quieter. She just stared at me and closed the door. Then she cranked up the radio even louder. The following night, my girlfriend was staying over. I wake up in the middle of the night and see the shadow of a person by the bed, watching us sleep. I assume I'm hallucinating, as I often do in the dark when I'm tired. But then, the shadow starts to speak. It's my neighbor, and she's holding something in her hand. She broke in during the night, and who knows how long she stood there. "You should lock your doors at night," she says, and walks out. The next morning, I hear someone making odd noises below my bedroom window. It's my neighbor, talking to herself in tongues. She has a plastic bag in her hand with her decaying dead dog inside. It's scorching hot outside, and I can smell the death from that bag. At this point, I'm scared shitless. She's clearly very disturbed. I go upstairs and knock on another person's door and ask them what on earth is happening. The guy is as terrified as me. Apparently, she broke into his apartment one evening as well while he was watching TV with his kids. He got up from the sofa to get a snack, only to find her behind the couch, staring at him, holding an electric drill. Come to think about it, now I know what was in her hand. At this stage, I'm basically shitting myself. I call the cops, and they know all about her. Apparently, she's a violent schizophrenic, and she hasn't been taking her meds. But they can't force her or enter her flat without her permission because she owns it. The only thing they can do is get her when she goes outside. I stayed up for the next 2 days, waiting for her to run out of cigarettes. When I hear her leave at 2 a.m. to go across the road to the convenience store, I call the cops. They have 3 cars and a special van over in less than 2 minutes. They restrain her and put her in the van and drive off to some institution. And in less than a minute, it's like she was never there. I never see her again. I still have nightmares about her watching me in my sleep. Story 2. I was about 15 minutes from the end of my graveyard shift when there was a huge crash against one of the windows in the office. So I get up and go to investigate. Someone has thrown a rather large rock through one of the windows on the front of the building. This is made especially strange because I'm working in the business park at 11:30 at night with none of the other businesses open. I return to my desk, make a quick call to security to let them know, and decide to head home. As I'm leaving the building, I'm freaking myself out about it more and more and end up running to my car, getting in, and taking off. I'm almost home and I've started to calm down a bit when I realize I didn't unlock my car when I got in. It had been unlocked the whole time. I do a quick check with my hand in the back seat for any potential murderers that might be hanging around there, but there's nothing there. Fast forward about 30 minutes. I've called a friend of mine who says he's out drinking, so I decide I'm going to join him. I jump on my bicycle and start riding over. I'm casually pedaling down the road on my bike. It's a pleasant night, and I'm in no big hurry, just enjoying the moonlight when I hear someone riding behind me. I straighten up and stick to one side of the road. He passes me really slowly, and when he's right beside me, he shoots me a smile that I can only describe as purely insane. I kind of flinch and am taken aback as he rides on. That's when I realize he's riding my mom's bike. Needless to say, I sprint the hell home. When I get there, sure enough, her bike is missing and one of my car's doors is open. The back left one. I was driving and had no need to open that door. Story 1. I worked at a state park on the night shift, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. every night. It wasn't bad. I would bring in my PS2 and game for a good portion of the night, only having to deal with 1 or 2 people on busy nights. It was just me in this little 8-foot by 8-foot shack with nothing around but darkness all night. My first week there, the other third shift guy who was quitting told me about this telephone booth a few feet from the shack where I worked. He said it rang every night at 4:17 a.m., just once. It was probably just an automated test call, he guessed. He's never answered it himself. I go for a few months with the job. It was the middle of summer, so most nights I had the windows closed, so I couldn't hear the payphone go off. Mid-August, I started leaving the windows open during the night. Sure enough, at 4:17 a.m. every morning, the phone would ring once. The ring even sounded creepy, like the payphone was submerged in water and then put where it sat. One night, I got up the nerve to answer it. I set an alarm for 4:15 a.m. and would go wait at the phone until it rang. When it did, I answered it, but there was no sound, just dead air, like someone was on the other line but wasn't answering. I said hello a few times and hung up. I did this every night for a week with the same result. I didn't think anything of it and left it alone after that for about a month. The first week of October, I decided to answer the phone once again. I set my alarm, and when the time came, I answered the phone. I repeatedly said hello into the phone. Then I heard what sounded like someone inhaling through clenched teeth. The voice that sounded was rough and sounded like he had gargled gravel. He said my name, my complete name, first, middle, and last. It was a voice I've never heard. My voice caught in my throat, and I hung up. I rattled some change into the payphone and hit *69. The number had come from California. I lived in Indiana.
Congratulations on making it to the end. But will you dare to watch again? Until next time.